What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC 290. We got Alexander Volkanovski going against Yair Rodriguez.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back breaking down probably one of the most interesting DraftKings slates of the year. We have some wild price tags. We have some very fun fights, a lot of fights that I think are going to deliver, a lot of high scores as well. And yeah, just a very, very interesting slate. So can't wait to talk about it. A couple things before we get started. As always, if you guys want to check out Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code DFSBTN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. I'll go over my favorite underdog play later in the video. Also, Prize Picks content will be dropping on Thursday, so check out the Prize Picks video, that as well, promo code DFSBTN for a 100% deposit bonus. Excited to be doing Prize Picks, and it's going to be the first time we do a Prize Picks video for a pay-per-view card, so that should be fun. Be on the lookout for that, and also be on the lookout for DFSbythenumbers.com. Check out that MMA DFS option, $10 a month. With that, you get access to my stats, the stats you see on the Friday and Saturday shows, my MMA lineup optimizer built up to 150 lineups, my DFS article, which just dropped today. You got the fighter projections, ownership projections, access to Discord, GPP lineup percentages, targets and rankings. We got Prize Picks on there. We got Underdog on there. Just a ton of stuff on DFSbythenumbers.com. It's the best way to support me, so be sure to sign up and check it out, especially in July. July, we have 5 cards, so it's really like $1.25, something like that. Wait, $2 a month, $2 per card. 2 times 5 equals 10. My math is correct. There we go. But yeah, check it out. Seriously, it's a good investment. Lots of great content for a very, very cheap price. And yeah, other than that, going live Wednesday for Best Bet, and then Friday around noon for the weigh-ins. I'll be attending the card, so I'm heading out to Vegas like Friday, like 4 o'clock Eastern time. So going to be doing my final thoughts video early on Friday, so be on the lookout for that. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And lastly, going to be doing the Bo Nickel contest. It is Bo Nickel fight week. Last time Bo Nickel did fight, we did the Bo Nickel contest where we had to guess how many DraftKings points that Bo Nickel ends up with. $25 to first whoever gets closest here for the Bo Nickel contest. To enter, of course, like the video, subscribe, and then comment down how many DraftKings points you think Bo Nickel is going to score. I think last time he scored around like 100. Let's see if he can score more than that this week. All right. With all that out of the way, I say we get into it, and we're going to start with these fight doesn't go to decision lines, and we have some massive ones this week. Speaking of Bo Nickel, we have Bo Nickel Woodburn minus 800 for the fight doesn't go to decision. Just a crazy, crazy line there for the fight doesn't go to decision. It's probably even going to be wider on some books as well, but yeah, minus 800 there. And yeah, this fight should probably finish. And this fight should probably finish under 1.5 rounds. The problem I have with Bo Nickel, and like I said, I'm a big Bo Nickel fan. I think the guy's going to win this fight, and I think he's going to win it convincingly in the first round. It's just he is 9,800 this week, which is crazy. I mean, for him to pay off this price tag, he's going to have to go out there and get like 5 takedowns, land a lot of ground and pound, and get like a late first round submission, right? Because we saw in the Jamie Pickett fight, he got a takedown with like in the first 30 seconds. He didn't really land any strikes. He got some control time, but it didn't end up on the optimal lineup. And, you know, he's 9,800 now. So as much as I like Bo Nickel, it's really hard to get to him at 9,800 on a card where there's not a lot of dogs I like. So I'm probably not going to have much Bo Nickel. If anything, it's probably like a dart on Woodburn, because if Woodburn wins, he's going to be like 2 to 5% owned. So for the most part, I'm probably fading the fight, but yeah, Bo Nickel should starch this guy. Just 9,800 is kind of ridiculous. Moving on, we got Madalena going against Josiah Harrell. 9,700 for Jack Della Maddalena. Like, this week is just wild. Just a wild week for DraftKings. I mean, you can't pay 9,700 for Jack Della Maddalena. For him to be optimal, he'll probably have to get like the 60-second bonus, but even then, even if he does get that 60-second bonus, like if a lot of these dogs don't come through like I'm expecting, them not to come through. I mean, I don't know if Jack's going to find the optimal lineup at 9,700. Like, I think there's a lot of really good plays that are cheaper than both Bo Nickel and Jack Della Maddalena, and I also think these guys are going to carry some ownership. So I don't know how much Jack Della Maddalena I'm going to get to, because if he goes out there and starts with this guy in the first round, puts up, 100, 105, 110, that's probably not going to be enough at 9,700. So don't know if I'm going to get to much Jack. If anything, like I said, it's probably a dart on Josiah Harrell, 2 to 5% owned, and see what happens. But I think there's a lot of options that are cheaper than both Bo Nickel and Jack Della Maddalena. I think they both obviously win. I think they obviously both score well, but will they end up on the optimal lineup is yet to be seen on a card where we have a ton of great plays that are cheaper. So we will see. But yeah, I fully expect the Nickel fight and the Maddalena fight to not only finish, but probably finish in the first round. Then we got a fight that I am much more interested in from a DraftKings perspective. It's Cameron Simon. He's taking on Terrence Mitchell. It's another really big mismatch here. We have a ton of mismatches on this card, a ton of setup fights, and this is definitely one of them. Minus 400 for the fight doesn't go the distance. Mitchell's been to decision once. I think this is Simon pretty much all day. I mean, Mitchell might have some grappling upside, at least early on. It's just I don't see him doing that either across 15 minutes or finishing Simon. So I'm more on the Simon side. I have quite a bit of them. Maybe Mitchell is a decent potential dart throw at this price tag because he will wrestle. And, Simon, I don't think his takedown defense is amazing. I just think Simon's much better than this guy. So going to have quite a bit of Simon, and I think he does finish as well. And they've got Vitor Petrino going against Marcin Prachnio. Petrino, I think, is definitely in play at 9,000. I mean, Petrino can go out there and do exactly what, Jack Della Maddalena is going to do, right? Get the first round knockout. Prachnio been knocked out not only a lot, but in the first round a lot. And Petrino, this guy hits like an absolute truck. So why not save 700 from Jack Della Maddalena, with a guy in Petrino who's probably going to do the same thing, which is that first round knockout. Petrino can also wrestle as well, which I don't see Jack wrestling. So yeah, I definitely prefer Petrino over some of these like Bo Nichols and Jack Della Maddalenas this week. As far as Marcin Prachnio, not going to get there personally. I think for Prachnio to win this fight, it's going to be a bunch of leg kicks, a lot of point fighting. I don't see any takedowns. Don't really see a finish from Marcin. So it's Petrino or pass for me. So yeah, a lot of fights that are expected to finish. We'll talk about much more that are expected to finish, but these are the 4 that are most likely going to finish according to these odds. Let's get into our core plays here. We got Alexander Volkanovski, 9,200. My favorite play on the slate. I think it's a great matchup for Volkanovski. I think people are going to remember how great this guy is after this fight. Seems pretty cheap, to be honest. Like, I think Volkanovski has the highest ceiling on the slate on a card where we have Bo Nickel and Jack Della Maddalena. Just because Volkanovski has 5 rounds, he has a lot of takedown upside, a lot of volume upside, and if he wins this fight, whether it's a late finish, decision, I think he's going to put up the biggest score on the entire card. So I have a ton of Volkanovski. We'll talk about Yair in a little bit. Not the worst pump play in the world. I think there's much worse pump plays this week, but I'm more so on the Volkanovski side this week, and I have a ton of them. Jalen Turner, 8,800. Like me some Jalen Turner, 100% finish rate. I just think he's getting Dan Hooker at the right time here. Dan Hooker's taken a ton of damage throughout his career. Dan Hooker's been finished in like his last 3 losses. Jalen Turner, pretty big favorite here. And if Jalen Turner doesn't win this fight, you got to expect it as a finish, and potentially early as well. Jalen Turner has a ton of power, and I guess, my concern is if Dan Hooker does come in here and wrestle, but even then I'm not sure Hooker has success doing so. That's not really Hooker's game. So, yeah, I think these guys are going to strike, and on the feet, Jalen Turner just has next-level power. This guy's very dangerous. So 8,800, I like me some Jalen Turner this week. And then we got Esteban Ribovics, 8,500, going to be the lowest-owned guy in terms of the core plays here. But, yeah, I'm on the Ribovic side here, but I think this is actually a very, very good fight to target. For me this week, I'm kind of living in the mid-range because I don't want to play, Bo Nickel at 9,800, nor really his opponent. I don't really want to play Jack Della Maddalena at 9,700. But I like a lot of these mid-range guys, and these mid-range guys are going to be a lot lower owned. Like, Ribovics is not going to have a ton of ownership for a couple reasons. For one, there's just, much more well-known fighters on this card, and for two, Camelo Kirk's one of the more popular, if not the most popular dog on the slate this week. So, yeah, I like Ribovics here, another guy with a 100% finish rate, a guy with a ton of power. We've seen Camelo Kirk finish multiple times. So, yeah, it's a really, really good fight to target. I think Camelo Kirk has a ton of upside himself. Like, whoever wins this fight, striker versus grappler, Ribovics KO, Kirk submission, I think are both on the table, and it's a really good fight to target this week. But I am personally on the Ribovics side. Cameron Simon, 9,400. Yeah, I like Simon quite a bit. I think he has just the same amount of upside as a Bo Nickel, as a Jack Della Maddalena. I think he can go out there and get a first-round knockout. I think he can land a ton of volume. I think he can get some reversals. I think he could even get takedowns in his own right. I think Cameron Saaiman has a ton of upside this week at 9,400, and I think goes out there and gets the finish. Could be really in any round. Probably even the first round here against Terrence Mitchell, a guy that I just don't think really belongs in the UFC, and it's a great matchup for Saaiman this week. So let me some Saaiman 9,400. Moving on to the GVP plays here, the tournament plays, we got Robert Whittaker 9,100. It's a really good fight to target here. I think Dricus du Plessis is going to be a very, very, very popular dog this week, and I get it, but this is a fight that I think is going to have to be owned just because of the way Dricus du Plessis fights. I mean, Dricus is going to bring an all-out war, an all-out brawl. I think somebody's probably getting served, and I think the winner's going to put up a very high score. I mean, the volume that Dricus throws out there is insane, and Whittaker's going to have to keep up with that volume, but I think somebody probably does get finished at some point, and I think Whittaker's very much in play at 9,100. Jimmy Crute, 8,200, probably my favorite fight as a whole to target on the entire card. The Jimmy Crute, Alonzo Menafield fight. We have another striker versus grappler matchup where Crute's going to be trying his best to get this fight down to the mat. If Crute wins this fight, expect a lot of takedowns, a lot of control time, and probably a submission win. And then on the flip side, we'll talk about Menafield. If Menafield wins, it is probably a first-round knockout. So my ownership between these two are pretty similar. I think I have slightly more Menafield because I am picking Menafield, and I do like the price tag, 200 savings there, but I do have my fair share of Crute as well. I think the winner puts up a very good score here in this mid-range price tag. Brandon Moreno, 8,700. I'm not in love with the price tag here with Moreno. Like, in terms of, like, this fight and how it plays out, I think it's way closer than that. Like, I think this could be, like, the 8,200, 8,000 matchup. But yeah, Moreno 8,700. He has 5 rounds to work with. This is going to be a high-paced fight from the jump. Takedowns either side, reversals either side, knockdowns are on table for both guys. I mean, this is going to be a wild fight with just a lot going on. And if this fight does go 5 rounds, which I think it does, the winner is going to put up a very, very good score. Moreno, I'm actually picking Pantoja to win, but if Moreno does get this done, he's going to put up a very good score. Expect, probably over 100 points in a win here from Moreno. So, I think this fight, this co-main event especially, is another one that I really want to target this week with the 5-round aspect of things. And then we got Jesus Aguilar, 8,600, kind of a low-owned play I'm going to throw out here. Don't think many people are going to be on Aguilar, which I think that might be a potential mistake going against Shannon Ross. Shannon Ross, another very popular dog this week for some reason. But yeah, Aguilar, if he wins this fight, like I said, I think he's going to be low-owned. I think he's going to wrestle. His wrestling's solid, and he has a really good guillotine. Shannon Ross, I don't really trust the durability. This is a guy in Ross who's been finished like 4 or 5 times. He's been submitted before a couple times. So I think Aguilar is going to be very live for a finish in this fight at some point. And like I said, I don't think he's going to have a ton of ownership. So that's what I'm liking there. In terms of Underdog Fantasy, again, if you guys want to check Underdog Fantasy out, use promo code DFSBTN. Last week I had the Joe Anderson Brito lower 1.5 takedowns, and he ended up getting 1. So that hit. This time I'm going the opposite. I'm taking the higher on takedowns for Tatsuro Taira. Higher than 1.5 takedowns. I don't think, Charas is that bad of a fighter. I just think he has bad cardio. But I think Charas can last to like the 2nd or 3rd round. So I can see Taira getting him down in the 1st round, Charas kind of surviving or even getting back up, and then Taira getting him down in the 2nd, and then probably submitting him. So I think Taira can get at least 2 takedowns here, if not more, against Edgar Charas. So give me the higher there if you like that as well, or if you want to fade, check out Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code DFSBTN. And just a reminder, I'll be getting out some prize picks content on Thursday, doing a full video breakdown on it as well. All right. Moving on to our live dogs, we have Alonzo Menafield, 8,000. Definitely a live dog this week, a guy that if he wins, probably a first-round knockout. Like, I don't see him winning any other way outside of a first-round knockout. If this gets to the 2nd round, he's probably gassed out at that point because this is going to be a crazy fight, probably like the last one. Arguably, Menafield should have probably won that fight in the last fight in the 1st round. He hurt Crute like 50 times. The ref was like this close to stepping the fight. Menafield just needed to do a little bit more. It would not shock me at all if Menafield went out there and got the 1st round knockout. If this fight does get to the 2nd round, though, it does favor Crute and favor Crute pretty heavily. But like I said, this is a fight that is borderline must target at these price tags. It's a fight that is heavily favored to finish inside the distance, and I will be having a ton of it this week. Camilla Kirk, 7,700. Very popular dog. I expect his ownership to be decently high here. Because he honestly he's a live dog for sure. I mean, Ribovics is a guy that I'm picking Ribovics to win, but I'm not completely sold on the guy. And Kamela Kirk, his path here is going to be to wrestle. I don't think he's going to want to go out there and strike with Esteban Ribovics. I think if he does that, he's probably getting knocked out. But Kirk can wrestle, Kirk can grapple. Black belt and BJJ, and Ribovic just has the worst takedown defense I've ever seen. So, yeah, Kamela Kirk does make a lot of sense in terms of an underdog if his cardio holds up. If he's able to get the finish even, I think he's definitely in play. So, I like Ribovic more, but Kamela Kirk's a live dog and a dog with upside on a card where we don't have a ton of live dogs, but Kamela Kirk is one of them. Alexander Pantoja, 7,500. Love Pantoja at this price tag, especially for cash. But even in like tournaments, like this guy has a lot of upside here. I mean, I think if there's a finish in this fight, it's probably on the Pantoja side, and I think at the very least this fight goes the distance and it's competitive. This price tag just makes no sense to me. I don't get it at all. I mean, I guess there's unknowns in terms of Pantoja. What does he look like in the 4th and 5th? But I think early on, especially, it's going to be just a very competitive fight. So Pantoja at 7,500, he will be the highest owned dog. I'd be shocked if he wasn't, but for good reason. I mean, there's not, like I said, there's not a ton of dogs in the slate, but he's 7,500. It just makes a ton of sense. I think you got to play him, and you got to play that co-main event. And then Robbie Lawler, 7,300, a guy with a lot less ownership. It's Robbie Lawler's retirement fight. Here's the thing, I just think, Nico Price, 8,900, that's a lot. Robbie Lawler, 7,300, there's a big price savings there for a fight where they're just going to stand and bang with no regards to their own safety, no regards for any striking defense whatsoever. They're going to stand and bang until one man falls, right? Robbie Lawler, he's shown he still has power. He's still going out there, landing big shots. And we have seen Nico Price finish 5 times in his career, 5 out of 6 losses. So I think somebody probably does get finished here. And I think Robbie Lawler is a live dog at 7,300. Could he get knocked out? Absolutely. But could he knock out Price? Yeah, he could. So at 7,300, I'll be taking my shots here with some Robbie Lawler. Other than that, there's not, like I said, there's not a ton of live dogs. I think Dan Hooker is a live dog, potentially, even though I like Turner a lot. Like if Hooker wrestles, but I don't love it. And outside of that, that's about it. I guess Shannon Ross technically is a live dog, but I don't think he has a ton of upside. So it's an interesting slate this week. Pump plays here. We got Dricus du Plessis, 7,100, probably one of the more popular dogs on the slate, and rightfully so. This guy's finished all but one of his wins, and the one win where he didn't finish the fight, it probably could have been stopped several times. He's going to go out there. He's going to fight for your money. He's very cheap, 7,100. Like, I'm picking Whitaker to win, but in terms of DraftKings, like Dricus at 7,100 just makes a ton of sense. He's very cheap. He's a finisher. We've seen Whitaker, it's been against like Adesanya, but we've seen Whitaker finish before, right? So, Dricus just brings this, I don't know, Dricus is a different fighter. Robert Whitaker has not seen anybody like Dricus. Dricus is very unique. He's going to go on there and, fight very chaotically. I think somebody, like I said, is getting served in this fight. So, yeah, Dricus 7,100 I think is a great pump play. He's going to be chalky, but there's not many options this week. And then Yair Rodriguez, 7,000. I don't love it, but pump play, main event, 5 rounds. I don't like his chances in this fight, but if he does win, I probably expect him maybe catching Volkanovski early. I don't see him winning a decision against Volkanovski. I think it had to be like landing something big early, which is going to be very easier said than done. Other pump plays that kind of stick out, like I said, if you want to sprinkle like Valentine Woodburn at 1% ownership, go for it. If you want to sprinkle Josiah Harrell, 6,500, like 2%, go for it. But other than that, there's just nothing. So it's a tough slate this week. It's a tough slate. It's gonna be tough to get. I don't know. It's gonna be tough to make line, especially when Bo Nickel. If you want to get Bo Nickel in your lineup, it's gonna be like almost impossible to get it in your lineup. So it's one of those really unique slates. I don't think we've seen a slate like this ever. Just so many big favorites that are expected to come through. And then fades. Hurts me to say it, but it is Bo Nickel because my goodness, 9,800. What are we doing here? I mean, maybe on a slate where maybe there's a lot of dogs that are live, potentially maybe, but even then, like 9,800 is a lot for Bo Nickel to hit the optimal lineup because I think Volkanovski outscores him. I think Cameron Simon can outscore him. I think Vitor Petrino could potentially outscore him. Like I think a lot of these guys that are cheaper can outscore Bo Nickel this week. Like we saw Bo Nickel against Jamie Pickett in a fight where he did what he was supposed to do. Went out there, sub Pickett in the first round. He put up 100.3. If he puts up 100.3, he's probably not even going to be top 10 in scoring this week. So, although I like Nickel to win, I like him to win a lot. You know, you can't get to this price tag. So I'm hoping people play him. I'm hoping he comes in with some ownership. I don't think he's going to be that high owned at all, but I'm hoping he gets some ownership because I will be fading Bo Nickel. I'm not saying he's going to lose. He's going to win the fight, obviously, but in terms of finding his way on the optimal lineup, I'd be surprised. I really would be. I think something crazy, because he's not finishing this fight in 60 seconds. At least I don't think. Maybe he does, but it took him like almost 4 minutes to submit Jamie Pickett, so we'll see. But yeah, guys, that is about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to comment down the Bo Nickel DraftKings points. We'll give $5 the first. If there's a tie, the tiebreaker goes to the person that commented first. Last fight, Bo Nickel scored 100.3. So comment those down. Curious to hear your scores on those. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Check out Underdog Fantasy and Prize Picks. Use that promo code DFSBTN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Highly recommend. And then be on the lookout for that Prize Picks video as well, the Prize Picks breakdown. Other than that, check out DFSbythenumbers.com. All of the content is live. Got everything done today, so nice and ahead for the card. Hoping all the fights stay on, but as we know, that's not going to happen. So best of luck for UFC 290. We'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.